He said he saw heaven, he met Jesus, he played with lions, and he came back with a message that healed his whole family.
I learned that heaven is for real, and you're gonna like it.
So you might have heard about Heaven is for Real. It's a book, it's a movie, so a lot of popularity. He had this experience when he was 4 years old, and now he's married, he's grown, and as time has passed, he remembers things from that event. Imagine being 3 years old, lifted out of your body, and the next thing you know, you're sitting in the lap of Jesus.
Well, how it started was I lifted above my body and I could see myself on the table and I was freaking out. But I was sitting on Jesus's lap and he had the angels sing to calm me down.
Jesus didn't wait for Colton to understand what was happening. He met him right in the panic. He calmed him. That's the Jesus we all need, right? Not just in a near-death moment, but in every storm we face in this life. This next part is not just a story, it's a healing moment. 4 years after a miscarriage, Colton had never been told about. He walks into the room and says something that stopped his mom in her tracks. Watch this closely, especially the way he describes who told him.
And he looks up at his mom and says, "Mom, I have 2 sisters," and she's busy, and she's not, and he goes, "Mom, I have 2 sisters." And so she's like, no frame of reference. And she goes, "You mean your cousin you just saw, your friends?" And he's like, "No, Mommy, you had a baby die in your tummy, didn't you?" "Who told you?" And he's like, "Well, she did, Mommy. She told me she died in your tummy."
She told me. That's what he says. Not a dream, not a guess. His sister, the one they lost, told him, herself in heaven. It's amazing, right? This is one of those moments where heaven touches earth and grief gets transformed into peace. Now, Colton also talks about meeting his great-grandfather, Pop, someone who died long before Colton was ever born. But what makes this moment so convincing is what happens when he sees a picture of Pop for the very first time.
So I finally asked my mother, "Mom, do you have a picture of Pop when he was a young man?" He goes, "Yeah, I had one, but I put it up in a closet years ago. I'm gonna have to find it." It took her like 2 months to send me that picture. And this was a picture that was put up in a closet 5 years before he was born. I can tell you he never saw it. He didn't know what I was handing him. We had had no conversations that day or that week or anything about Pop. I just said, "Colton, take a look at this." And he looks at it, and without hesitation, he looks at me and says, "Hey, how did you get a picture of Pop?" He knew exactly what that was. No hesitation.
He'd never seen that photo. It was hidden in a closet. But the second Colton saw it, he said, "That's Pop." And what I love most, Pop wasn't just watching from a distance, right? He was taking care of Colton in heaven. Because in God's kingdom, family still takes care of family. Heaven wasn't just filled with people. Colton describes animals, food, even school. And one thing he said, you'll love this, he got to play with lions. Watch this.
Another cool thing is like the animals in heaven. So almost every animal we have down here on earth is up in heaven. So there's dogs, there's cats, there's elephants, there's lions, there's horses. And I remember my 2 favorite animals was Jesus's rainbow horse, which it was a white horse with a rainbow colored mane.
Wow.
And then my other favorite animal was a lion, because in heaven, I was able to play with lions like you would a dog or a cat down here. I can't do that down here without like getting seriously hurt.
Right.
So it's one of my favorite memories.
Now this is the most specific description Colton gives. What Jesus looked like, what he wore, and how he made Colton feel. Listen to how Colton describes it, especially what he says about Jesus' smile.
I remember with Jesus, I would walk with him. Like, I'd walk with him, he'd teach me. And when I saw him, he had brown hair, he had a brown beard, he had these beautiful bluish green eyes. And he had a smile brighter than any that I've ever seen. He had a white robe, he had a purple sash.
It's wild how often people who've had near-death experiences describe the love of Jesus as just overwhelming and magnetic. And that smile, it says you're safe, you're loved, you're home. That's the Jesus I want people to meet. Now, I don't know if this next part will hit you the same way it hit me. But when Colton noticed Jesus still had scars, he asked Jesus why. Jesus didn't hesitate. His answer, it was deeply personal. Check it out.
I remember when I looked around heaven, everybody was young, they were healthy, they were perfect. But Jesus had the markers in his hands and his feet. And I remember asking him, Jesus, how come you're the only one in heaven with markers? And I remember he got down on a knee. He looked me right in the eyes and said, Colton, it's to remind me how much I love you.
Think about that. The only scars in heaven are the ones Jesus chose to keep. Why? To remind him, and maybe to remind us, right, of just how much we are loved. How do you know the value of something, right? It's how much someone's willing to pay for it. And it's a reminder of the value that Jesus puts on us as humans. It's his own sacrifice for us. So here's something I didn't expect when listening to these accounts. Is Colton says he was taken into the throne room of God. And what did he see there? It stunned him, right? Not just God, but something in heaven, something was actually broken. Check it out.
All right, that's good.
But in the throne room, there was also a pile of rubble that used to be Lucifer's throne.
Huh. Wow.
That image gets me every time, right? A pile of rubble in the presence of the Almighty. Colton said it's what used to be Lucifer's throne. You know, that moment, it's a visual of God's total, utter victory. The enemy used to have a place. He used to have authority, he used to have power, but now it's crushed, defeated. And that same God is still on the throne today. Love it. It's awesome. Come on. Colton's story is incredible. And not just because of what he saw, but because of what it confirms, right? That heaven is real, that Jesus is alive, and that God still answers prayer today in this moment. If this story moved you like it moved me, would you help us grow this channel by hitting the like, add a comment of what your favorite thing you're looking forward to in heaven is, and hit the subscribe button. We're still growing. Every subscription helps. Every like helps. We want to hear from you. Blessings. We're just getting started, and the best is yet to come. Thank you.